Okay, guys, welcome back. We've got Donovan here from Unbiased Rugby. Great to see you, Don. How you doing?
I'm well in yourself, Richard. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, good. It's been so long. You've grown a beard, so it's about
Well,
time, isn't it?
yeah, we're going into winter, so I've got to grow the hair to stay warm.
That's right. Well, to us, it's the summer test series coming up. To you, you said it's just the June test, which makes a lot more sense because
Yeah.
it's obviously not going to be summer down there. Shall we start just talking about these series, especially the ones we're talking about? Really, the South Africa series against Wales, Australia against England, New Zealand against Ireland. They're the big three as such. No disrespect to Scotland and Argentina, but just before we get into South Africa, which is obviously why you're here mainly, but how do you see the other two going? I spoke to Zach the other day from Hacker Time, and he was thinking maybe a 2-1 to New Zealand. Do you agree?
If it's not a 2-1 to New Zealand, then it's I don't know. There'd be some really angry people in New Zealand. So I think from Ireland's point of view, I think if they got one win on the road against New Zealand in New Zealand, it would be a successful tour. And I've been watching some of the shows, and most of the pundits over there will believe that New Zealand should win 3-0, and that's what they believe. But after watching how Ireland play, and especially Leinster, which is their main pool team, where they obviously draw most of their players, it's just the way that they're playing. It's just it's world class. It's slick. It's even we used to, remember a couple of years ago there used to be that show, The Breakdown, and not the
Yeah.
Breakdown. They
Well,
no, not the
that's still
Breakdown.
going, isn't it?
No, there used to be those two guys that used to be online.
Oh, the Australian one.
No, it was the 1040.
Oh yeah, 10-14. Yeah, yeah.
And I remember they were talking about champagne rugby and, first phase rugby, first phase on the moves. They're doing their wraparounds. I just look at the way that Leinster play, and I'll just look at the way that Ireland play, and I just think they are on a bit of a different level at the moment. And I think maybe for the first time, maybe they'll peak at the right time.
Yeah, I think they're peaking. I guess you get to see them quite a lot because watching the URC, you watch Leinster, and essentially you are watching Ireland with a slightly different system. And they're just so slick, aren't they? So I mean, they're not quite as powerful as maybe some of the South African sides, but they're just so slick in everything they do. It's relentless, isn't it? It's just the waves of attack.
It's just continuous, because I look at how New Zealand play, and they were talking. I was watching the breakdown the other day, and they were talking about New Zealand are the best transition players in the world. They transition from defense to attack the quickest. And I think they were talking to the ex-Ireland coach, also a New Zealander. I've just forgotten his name.
Smith? Joe Smith?
Yeah. And he was talking about how they combated the transition play. And looking at Super Rugby this year, I must admit, I actually don't watch as much Super Rugby anymore. It's quite strange. I used to watch all the New Zealand derbies, and I don't really watch them that much anymore. So it was quite interesting to see the players that they want to have come through. But I think from an Ireland point of view, I think one victory on the road, that's it. That's all they need to know that they can beat New Zealand in New Zealand stronghold. If they win the series, then
maybe a harder one to call then. England going to Australia. How good do you think Australia are going to be?
So I think Australia in a better place than they were last year or the year before, maybe even the year before that. They were really in a downward spiral, and I think their Super Rugby sides have got a bit of confidence. I think they. I don't know if they'll be confident, but I think they'll be up for it. So
they've been together for a few years now. They're not a new team. They haven't quite got the world-class players they once had, but they're in a decent place.
No, exactly. And coming to England, that's a real tough one. I just don't
say what you think. Don't worry about my feelings.
No, it's not about it's not your feelings that I'd want to hurt. I just think the coaching's become maybe a little bit stale. I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that. I just don't see. If I look at how England played in that semi-final in the World Cup, and if you see how England, when they have the players and they play to their full potential, what kind of game they can pull out. And when was the last game that they did that where they played like that? Where everything just clicked and worked, and everyone believed in each other and they trusted the systems. If England lose the series, I think they'll. You can't change a coach that soon before World Cup. But I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Well, I think you're very close to it. I mean, Eddie Jones lost all his assistant coaches pretty much. They had to start again, and they've tried to play a new way, and it's definitely not worked at all. I don't think their balance of their selection has helped. So they've kind of lost half a year really on everyone else. There's plenty of good players. I'm not buying the fact that there's so many good players in the Premiership and young ones as well. Because that salary cap has come down. Sides have had to play their young players a lot more. So there's plenty of youngsters. It's just the fact that they're 6 months behind and they need to pick their best team quickly and almost start from scratch on their system. So they could be great. They could be absolutely great in Australia, or they could be a bit of a bumbling mess. It's really up in the air. Okay, well, I tell you, let's get on to South Africa. That's why you're here. That's the big show. That's the big show here. Straight in there. Is there much hype with Wales coming to town? I've listened to a little bit of South African press, and they're a little bit maybe underwhelmed. They think South Africa should put them away 3-0 pretty easily. Do you differ at all with that view?
I do differ quite a lot. If you look at, obviously they were under Gatlin, but I think in the last 10 tests or 12 tests, that obviously Wales had a much better win ratio than we did. I think they won more tests than we have.
Yeah, 16 to 19, they won 4 in a row, I think.
It's correct. And I think Wales know how to play against South Africa. You can watch it. All of their games are close. It's 3-4 a penalty. Generally, the difference between the two teams. I must admit, I haven't been very, very impressed with what's been happening in the URC. But the URC is a lot different to the national side. So
Wales never perform in the domestic competitions. They never have the club sides.
I hate saying it, but it's going to be 10-man rugby, forward dominated. It's going to be a bit of a slugfest, and that's how Wales and South Africa play. I do think if I compared player for player, I do think South Africa should take the series. I'm not trying to be arrogant there. I just think from a 23-man, the 23 players that you can put on the park at any given time, I just think South Africa have a bit of an edge. Essentially we can play 2 tight fives. So it's, and not just 2 tight fives, world-class 2 tight fives. So I think that makes a huge, big difference. Look, I'm hoping we don't play a 6-2 split. I'm hoping we play a 5-3 split. I just want to see. I want to see some new black line players coming into the fore. When we start talking about some of the players, there's a few positions, especially in the back line, which I think we could really, really look at.
Yeah, it's interesting Wales have stated, Wayne Pivac has stated he's going to play his full strength side from now through to the World Cup pretty much. Probably prompted by, losing to Italy when they rotated some players there. So they're not really going to play around with too many new players. South Africa, it seems to be a chance to try a few new players. But since 2019, the side's been pretty much locked down, hasn't it? Do you think they will go with their full strength side with maybe 1 or 2 extra new ones, or are they going to do more wholesale experiments?
I think they might do one or two positional changes or experiments in the first two games, but I'm sure they'd want to lock down the series first. If they're going to the last test and it's 1-1, then we'll play full strength the whole. You still got to win the series. You got to face what's in front of you right there and then. But I'm hoping that they play a 5-3 split, because if I look at the back line of South Africa, I just think it's so stable. I could tell you every single position straight off the bat. Faf, 100, Pollard, Damon Delenda, Am, Makazole, Mpepe, Ches and Colby, and Willie Leroux. Yeah. Nothing's changed, but it's literally the same team that played in the 2019 World Cup. But you lose a key player like Am or something like that.
Sure.
You have to play somebody else, because we know that's our first team. So it's an opportunity to blood some players.
I mean, because after this, don't they play New Zealand next? So it's not exactly like they've got experimental games, do they? It's either this series or nothing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's this series. I think they've obviously got the two games against Argentina, where they could experiment a bit. Yeah. I think Australia, we can't experiment against. We learned that last year when we lost the two games to them. And then New Zealand Springboks always get up for New Zealand. So I think that's like a given.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that they play a 5-3 and then they bring in maybe some 3 backline players that you actually can get blooded a little bit better. And when we go through the team, I'll point out the players that I really like and I'd really like to see actually get some game time.
Yeah, I think for Wales, just before we go on to the team, they're in a very strange position, I think, Don, where on evidence of last year, you're not expecting a lot. They really didn't play that great. And for a couple of games, even their intensity was a lot lower than normal. And I don't think things are quite right in the camp with Wayne Pivac, etc. So this is a huge opportunity for them to turn that around. It's a shot to nothing in a way, because they're not expected to win. So I'm pretty sure they're going to bring a huge intensity. It's just whether the quality is going to be there. Like I said, the evidence suggests 3-0 to the Boks. But, it's a complete shot to nothing for Wales. I think if they get one win and stay competitive in the others, that would be a huge bonus to them.
I agree 100%.
But they could get pumped 3-0 with big deficits and then really have learned nothing. So it's, even though they're underdogs with nothing to lose, in some ways they could get really badly, smashed up here as well.
I also look at it and I think if they're going to be playing their best side, and if they get 1 or 2 injuries in some key positions, like Ellerman goes, great leader. I actually watched a show with them last week, and it was actually quite nice to actually see the personality behind the person, and it's actually a lot different to what I expected. So he's a very
shy guy. He's really shy. He doesn't like talking. He doesn't actually. He's not a natural captain as such by his talk. He's more actions with him. He's not the alpha, the extrovert, maybe I should say, that we all think he might be.
Yeah. But I just think if they lose their starting front row, or how deep does it go?
Yeah.
And
it's a worry.
If you're losing your scrums, what's that? 6 penalties a game, quite easily. It could quite easily be like that. So I think South Africa would be going for a whitewash. I think anything less than a whitewash would probably be, to some South African public, would probably be not that great. I actually don't mind losing a game. I don't mind losing a game now, as long as it puts in a bit of fire under the guys to obviously get up for the rest.
Sure. Okay, well, let's get through this team then, because this is what I'm interested on your view, because I wrote down the team that took on England last year, and I'm not sure you would change too much, but would you? Let's start with the front row. I mean, I've put down Oxenchae, Kitsoff, Mbonambi, Marks, Nkanyane, and Koch. Is there anything different to that?
Look, I still think, obviously, I would start Ox. I think Ox, Bongi Mbonambi and Trevor Nyankani are quite nice because they're fairly close in height.
Yeah.
So both of them, they're under 1.8 meters, I think. So it's a very, very different starting lineup. And then at the 40-minute mark, then they bring in the much taller guys, and over 1.8 or 1.88, around about there. So it's a much taller front row.
That's a really interesting point, actually. How the height is actually just as important as not just getting your best players on. I hadn't considered that fully.
So like Oxenchair, I've liked Oxenchair for years. I watched him playing for the Cheetahs, and he was an absolutely amazing player. And you just think, there's a player that only started playing when he was 19. So 18, 19 when he went to varsity. Just somebody said, come play. Look where he is. Good now. Decision. So
whoever that man is, shake his hand.
Yeah. So, and I also think, look, he's still young. I think he's 24, 25. I just want to confirm. I've got his age. 26. He's 26. So, for as a prop, he's still 4 years out from his best. Kitshoff is peaking now. He's in his 30s. I think he's just hit 30. So, I think we've got our Stephen Kitshoff. We know what we get with him, but I think we've got a good succession in Loosehead. Bongi Mbonambi, Malcolm Marks. It's not going to change at number 2, and then Tated. It's a difficult one because I'd probably start Trevor because I think as a Tated, he's really come leaps and bounds, but probably. From a technical point of view, just pure scrummaging, I'd still say Frans Malherbe is probably our best scrummager at tight head.
Yeah. Watching Koch in the Premiership, though, he's still playing really well.
Exactly.
Fantastic player.
But look, if you go further down the line, you've got Thomas Tutoya, we've got...
I like him. He's a good player.
You see, we've actually got quite a lot of depth in our front row. So I think from that point of view, I think we're fairly okay. We're one of the fortunate countries where we almost have 2 international.
It's a massive strength. It's a massive strength. When Wales see those 3 coming off the bench after having a tough time with the starting 3, it's demoralising stuff, isn't it? It's almost survival mode.
Well, fortunately, we can play. You only have to play for 40 minutes, so you just got to say to the guys, listen, just empty your tank. Do what you need to do because you don't have to worry. 40 minutes time, you're going to be off the field. So I think from front row, we're great. Do you want to go to 4 and 5?
Yeah. Who's the next hooker off the cab off the rank? Who might replace one of those 2?
I know Dweber's playing quite well in the top 14. I know he's coming back. That's probably all I can think of at the moment. I think there's Johan Krobler. There's a few younger guys in the waiting that would come up. But I think from a succession point of view, they're going to choose one of them. It's probably going to be Joseph because he's got the right kind of build for it to be a South African number 2. So, yeah, I think it's those 3 are the probably.
Okay.
That's who it is.
Cool. We've got 10 minutes, so that's just the right amount of time to roll through the rest of the team. Is there anything beyond Etzebeth, Diaga, Mostert in the second row?
No.
No? Okay.
Yes.
Anyone close?
There is a few players that I wrote down here. I know Jean-Luc's playing pretty well. Steph's playing pretty well. But let's be honest, I don't think we're going to move far away from... I think even Etzebeth's playing absolutely magnificent rugby.
Isn't he?
Lewitt's playing, he's back on form. Those 2, I don't see being fit. All things being equal, I think. It'll be those 2 starting.
Let's say it how it is. It's a fantastic front 5. It really is, and the replacements as well. It's a massive strength. Starting against England last year, we had Khaleesi, Quagga Smith, and Dwayne Vermeulen as a back 3 of the scrum. Do you see any changes there?
So, looking at the back 3, I just want to get to that section here. There are a few players that are really, really chomping at the bit to get into those positions. But I look at 6, okay, against South Africa, we play open sides and blind sides the opposite way around. In South Africa, an open side is actually a blind side, and a blind side is actually an open side.
Worth saying.
And I'd probably say Peter Steph du Toit's back fit. He's playing great rugby in Japan. I'll probably see him coming back into the fold again. I still think he's probably one of the best blind sides.
It'd just be great to see him back on the field. We haven't seen him internationally for so long.
I think he's incredible. I think Dwayne's the incumbent number 8. He's essentially the captain of the forwards in that respect.
But how old is he now?
36, I think.
Is he?
35.
Okay.
So
I think he's a little bit older, maybe not.
I think I've actually got him here on the list,
Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. I thought he was a bit older. 35, is he?
He's 35. Yeah, okay. So I think he'll still be around for the World Cup. I think he'll be one of those elder statesmen. But it is a position that we are looking for. We are looking for a replacement, and it's pretty bad to wait till your player's 36, 37 before you find your next replacement. But there's Lowe that's coming through the ranks, real local-based players that are really putting their hands up at number 8. Look, Siya Kolisi's playing open side. It's a given. He is the captain, so he is going to be playing, and he has been playing. He has been in really good form. So I think, I don't think that's going to change much. But I do think it's something that needs to be rejigged a little bit.
Okay. So let's just talk about the back line as a whole in the last 5 minutes here. So against England, we had Reinach starting, but I imagine that's going to go back to Faf de Klerk. Then Pollard, de Allende, Pimpy, Colby, Leroux. Is Leroux going to be someone who might be for the chop for the World Cup?
There's some amazing 15s playing in South Africa. I know Galan's playing for the Stormers. He's playing really, really good rugby this year. But there's a young kid from playing for the Sharks, Apalele Fassi, who's absolutely amazing.
Frightening.
Absolutely incredible the way that he plays. But it'd be nice to see him slotting in at maybe wing, and maybe Chesney going to 15. Okay. I know that he does play 15 for Toulon, and he played for Toulouse at 15. So it might be a better position for him. But he does bring something special to the wing, and Apalele Fassi does play 15 as well. So it is a position that we should look at, not to take anything away from Willie Leroux, because when Willie Leroux's special, he's special. But when he's not special, he's not special.
That's pretty much it. Something from watching the Premiership, Andre Esterhuizen, he's on fire. And when he started in the Premiership, I thought maybe he was a bit of a one-trick pony, but he can play as well as being a battering ram. Obviously, starting-wise, he's probably not going to break the starting 2, but surely he's a guy you take in the squad, if not on the bench, or are there other centres that are above him in South Africa?
I know Damien Willems is playing. He's playing 12 at the moment for the Stormers. But he's probably the next replacement for Frans Steyn. Who can play 15, 10, 12.
A versatile player,
Yeah, because if we play a 6-2 split, you have to have a versatile player. Damon de Allende is just playing. He's made that position his own, and I think you'd have to do something really special to knock him off that thing. But we do need to have players playing in that position besides de Allende and Am, because we know that they're our top choice. But we need Jesse Creel needs time. International level, you can't just you need time.
Playing really well in Japan.
I think it's great that these guys get 2 months sabbaticals to go earn some money.
And just moving on here, because I'm conscious of time. So you're saying Faf de Klerk starting with Reinach on the bench?
Yeah, probably. But I just do those two are probably the first 2 choices at the moment. But we do need somebody young coming up.
And with Pollard at 10, who's going to be on the bench covering fly half, would you say?
Well, then obviously the incumbent bench player is probably Elton Jantjies. He he still plays. He plays a very, very different kind of game. I must admit, I don't really watch games for the backline, so I'm biased to the forwards. So I still think Pollard's probably our best choice, and the step down to the next level is quite big.
Okay, so the only two positions we've got then are the third back on the bench, because you want to play 5-3. So who's your third back on the bench? Is that Willemse as the utility or someone else?
I'd either play Frans Steyn or Willemse. I wouldn't play both of them. And then obviously you have to have a number 9. I'd probably look at jigging our centre pairing, trying something a little bit different in our centre pairing, because I just know that if we lose something there, the guys need game time, and the centre pairing, it's a pairing. It's not it's like a 4 and a 5 lock. Brodie Retallick plays the best rugby with Sam Whitelock. That's the way it works, so it's a pairing. So I really want to see either Jesse Creel playing at he plays 13, or Andre Esterhuizen playing 12.
Right, we've got a minute here, so Vegas. So I've got your starting team just to finish off here. We've got the replacement front row. We've got Moster covering second row. Your replacement back row is it Lowe?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
if he gets selected.
Okay, if he gets selected, then Reinach and Yankees.
Probably yes.
Yeah, and then your one back's replacement is. I have to push you here. Sorry, Don.
Jesse Creel.
I think Creel.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Perfect timing, Don. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Perfect. Chat soon. Cheers.
Okay.